Hello, today in my writing process playlist I'm going to talk about my game plan for my first draft, and there are two spreadsheets that I use in order to do this. The first one is Pacemaker Planner, and the second is Microsoft Excel. I'll go through Pacemaker first, then I'll show you what I do with Excel. Okay, so here is Pacemaker Planner, and I have created a document for my novel new Eleusis for draft 1. And as you can see, it has several cells, and I'll explain them all in a minute. But at this time, I have 90 days on here. So if I go into edit, it shows you how to set it up on the left here, and most of it is self-explanatory. You can also put a description in here or make it private if you want to. I don't really concern myself with that. But what you do is you set your goals. So you start at 0, and my target is 81,000 words. Now that is just a ballpark, and how I came up with that is I took my number of chapters and I times it by 3,000. And the reason I did that is because typically normal sort of chapter lengths range from between 1,000 and 5,000, with the average being 3,000. So I did that and came up with 81,000. Now that might not be enough. This is a quite ambitious novel compared to some of the other things I've worked on. So yeah, we'll see. But that's what I think it's going to be. The first draft anyway. So I set up for overall target and my start date here, and it has a fixed deadline, and my target finish date, which is February 28th. And for me, I like it to be steady, so I set this here, but you can do different kind of strategies. If you work better near the end, you can do it a certain way, or if you like to have the weekends off, you can do it that way. I prefer slow and steady, like the tortoise. But there's all these different variables you can put in, and I did. You can also show it as a graph or a calendar, and how the days start and all this stuff. It looks like this, and my start date is December 1st. That is tentative right now. I'm moving in the next few weeks, so hopefully I'll have everything sorted out and I will be able to start that day, but that's my shoot for date. So we have several headings here. The first few are self-explanatory. This is how many words a day I have to complete to reach that 81,000 goal, and that's 900. Now, depending on your prowess as a writer, how fast you type, how fast you think, all this kind of stuff, some people may think that's a lot of words. Some people may think that's not hardly any at all. Stephen King, I think he writes like 3,000 a day or something. So like obviously 900 doesn't sound like a lot. For me, there are days where I can write 3,000, no problem. But I've found that those are days where I have a lot of time, or I have some kind of creative outburst, and I just don't do that every day. I can't reach that word count every day because I have too many other obligations. With that said, 900 is actually quite a lot when you really break it down, and here's what I mean. Let's say I miss a day, then I have to do 1,800. Still not a big problem. But let's say I get sick and I miss 3 days or 4 days. Then you can see how easy it would be to fail, because the more days you miss, the higher that word count is to get back to normal, to get back to the average. So I think 900 is good. My last novel, I had a second job that was very busy, So if I recall, I think it was like 633 or something a day. And I was able to do that pretty much no problem. There were a few moments where I was like, am I going to get through this? But I did. So 900 is shooting a little bit higher than that. I think, like I said, this is a more ambitious novel, and I think that I kind of have to go a little higher to try to get it all done in a certain amount of time. If I get to 81,000 and I'm not done writing the first draft, then I'll probably have to add a month or a few weeks or something and just keep that pace going until I finish. But right now I'm shooting for 3 months. What I do is I go up here to progress, and there's this button here, add progress, and I have to go to the date that I would be doing it. Let's say it's the first day, and it says 900. Let's say I did 935. Hit that in, save the progress. It gives me this celebration, which is quite motivating, I think. Now what it does is it shows the actual work I did, which was 935, my progress, and then my actual progress was 935. This will change depending on how the two cells are, and then it shows that now I have 79,200 left. Let's try one more and I'll show you what happens when I lose a day. So let's say it's the next day, the second, and let's say I'm tired from something and I get 300 words done. Not much. Still celebrates. So no matter what you do, it is encouraging. And that might not seem like a very big thing, but I will tell you this now, when you're 2 months into it and you're tired and you're worn out and you're like, I don't want to write ever again, that little really makes a difference. It's, I don't know, something psychological way back in your brain. It just really makes a difference. My expected progress was supposed to be 1,800, but I did not reach it. Now I only have 1,235, so I'm actually down. So what I would have to do is kind of add that difference to the next day, because I want to be at 2,700 the next day. So see, already I'm slipping. But it will show you your average daily words here at the top, the current streak of how many days you're doing it, and your longest streak. And what I really like is up here, it gives you a percentage of your project done, which is really cool. So even over 2 days, I'd have 1% of it already done, which is very good for your psychology, especially when you see it at like 63%, you're like, oh, I'm almost there. 70%, 80%, it's like the finish line is in sight. When you're just looking at a lot of numbers, you don't really feel it as much as you do when you see this percentage. And that's actually going to get me to my next point with my other spreadsheet. Here I am in Microsoft Excel. I've set this document up. It's a kind of percentage spreadsheet. And what I usually do is, for the first draft, I will do this for every draft. It's a good way to get yourself motivated. You list all the chapters, and in this case, my novel is 27 chapters. On the other spreadsheet, it's just doing my word counts. It's good to keep track of that, but there's another way of looking at things. And if you think about your book as having a certain amount of chapters, mine being 27, completing one is a very satisfying feeling. At the end of the day, if I get through a chapter, I can put a percentage of complete in this spreadsheet, and I kind of can see where I'm at. I like doing that for a few different reasons. But let's say I write my 900 words and that does not complete the chapter. But let's say it's 60% done. So I go in here and I add 60 and hit enter, and it gives me a little graph of how complete it is. Now this is good because sometimes I may be jumping around. I'm not the kind of person that just starts at the beginning of a novel and writes their way in chronological order. I am definitely a person that likes to follow my inspiration, and so sometimes I may jump around. And This is one of the things about trying to write your first draft in a short amount of time, is sometimes you don't know the answer to a problem. And instead of sitting there with like a writer's block trying to come up with the answer, you just move on. You say, okay, that's not happening today. You might go around it a little bit, spend some time on it, but if it's not happening, you got to move on because you're just wasting time. And so in that case, I'll jump to something else. And now maybe I did some of chapter 12, and maybe I completed like 25% of it, let's say. So I could put in 25 here, and then it shows that. But as you start to kind of get through it, you'll get more and more. A lot of these will change to 100. And as you start seeing this page get more and more yellow, you start feeling more accomplished. You're like, I'm almost there. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. You know, these graphs and the percentage thing in Pacemaker Planner, and even the fireworks that go off, that might all seem very inconsequential, but I actually think anything that you can do to get yourself through the process is beneficial. The drafting process is coming soon, December 1st. I'm going to mentally prepare myself. I'm going to make sure I'm in physical shape for that, and have all my documents ready, which I'll talk about in another video. But that's about it. I have a few final videos I'm going to do in the next couple weeks, and then it'll be December 1st, and I'm going to start this. So wish me luck, I guess. I have to mentally prepare myself because it's not an easy task. It never is. So anyway, take care. Have a good day. Bye-bye.